Hi, I'm Shan, and this is Life with Shan. This video is going to be some of the top 22 reads that I had from 2022. I read a total of 173 or 74 books in 2022. It was a little difficult just narrowing it down to 22 books. Did go through books that I still physically had that I really enjoyed to help pick the 22 books from 2022. So first off, I'm going to start with 3 books because it's a trilogy and it's the Inheritance Games trilogy. I only have the second and third right now because a friend of mine is currently borrowing and reading the Inheritance Games #1. But this series, you cannot go wrong no matter what type of books you like. It is fast-paced, there's romance, there's mystery, there's some thriller-esque vibes of it, there's scavenger hunts and riddles. I loved the Inheritance Games. I know there's a lot of opinions about which books were better than the others, but it's going to be the same thing with any series. Like, one book is always going to be better than the other, so read the series yourself by Jennifer Lynn Barnes to form your own opinion. It is the Inheritance Games trilogy. She finished the trilogy out this year with the 3rd book, The Final Gambit, and then she did announce another series that's also in the same world with some of the same characters that I'm very excited to read in 2023. Those are the first 3 recommendations. Next is The Roughest Draft. This was a fun read that I consumed in about a day last February or March, and it was very good. I love the writing duo. They're a married couple. This was their first adult book. I've read all of their YA books, and they write back and forth in different point of views for different couples, and this book is all about 2 authors that used to write together but have become enemies, and they're having a hard time in their solo careers, and now they're kind of being forced by their agents to write another novel together. So it's about what happened to them, why don't they write together anymore, and what's going to happen now with this next book. So I recommend The Roughest Draft. There are a few trigger warnings like emotional cheating and things like that, so if that's something that's not for you, then this one's not for you, but I did enjoy it. Next, for a very popular one, was Carrie Soto is Back. I loved Carrie Soto is Back. Look at all these tabs. It was a great read for me. I enjoyed it so much. Soto is an unlikable main character, and usually that deters me, but she was quickly able to like her. She is a kick-butt female character, tennis player who wants to bring back her records, and she doesn't let anything get in the way, and I just really enjoyed that aspect and kind of seeing how her character developed throughout the story. Professional tennis player, so there's a lot of tennis, but you don't have to like tennis or be athletic to like Carrie Soto is Back. Taylor Jenkins Reid does it again with another phenomenal book. I'm just pulling through random piles of 22 books that I pulled out, so they're not in any particular order, but here is The Dead Romantics. I did love this book, lots of tabs. Basically, a female is trying to become a writer. She's a ghost writer. She goes to meet her new agent, and then she can also see ghosts, and then at some point she ends up seeing a ghost that she knew from real life, but she can't tell that they're a ghost, all while she's trying to connect with her new agent and a family emergency. Great book, talks about family, death, there is grief. There's a lot of different things in this book, so I would look up trigger warning. This was a fun Halloween read, but I would probably read this any time of year. Very popular, very fun. I cannot wait to read more from this author. Continue with the Halloween vibes. I will go with Spells for Lost Things by Jenna Evans Welch. She writes the Love and Olives, Love and Gelato, Love and Luck trilogy. This one was really fun. I did talk about this in one of my monthly wrap-ups. One of the top books of the year, probably my favorite Halloween read for 2022. I love the magical elements, the family elements, the trying to find yourself. The setting was Salem, Massachusetts, another favorite place in the world that I love. I just enjoyed this one. Quick, easy read, YA, purple cover, you cannot go. Highly recommend Spells for Lost Things if you want a quick YA magical. And I have The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. I know Nicholas Sparks is controversial. There's a lot of different things about him. If you aren't into Nicholas Sparks already, I do recommend reading up on things that he's done or the opinions of other people to get a better understanding. I'm just here to say that I did like this book. The trigger warning is there's cancer, but this book's really well written. It's kind of a holiday read, but it can be read outside of the holidays. This is one of my favorite books by him. I've read Nicholas Sparks since I was a middle schooler, so I think just kind of it's continued for me. But if I hadn't read or become a fan of him from when I was younger, I don't think I'd become a fan of him now. There's just a lot of controversy around him. I will link an article below, but I don't know what's factual, what's not factual. Either way, do your research, form your own opinion. That's all I'm gonna say. Now for things we never got over, a very popular read in 2022. I think most of these are pretty popular. I tend to read a lot of the popular books because of my Bookstagram and platform. I mean, it's shown that the audience kind of gravitates towards the popular books, so I do try to read some different types of books or backlist books. I'm hoping to do more videos on this upcoming year, but most of these I think are popular picks. Anyways, things we never got over: thick romance, fast-paced, there was a lot of steam. I skipped the steam because that's just not for me, but that doesn't mean it's a bad book. I did really enjoy this one. Family drama, twin sisters mystery, a lot of compelling different points of views. I am talking with my hands today. I'm very passionate about these books, so gestures are coming. But I highly recommend Things We Not Ever Got Over by Lucy Score. There's another companion, I call them sister books, coming out this spring that I've already pre-ordered, so check this out. It's cute. It is thick, but it's also thinner than other covers. Like, look at it compared to this one. See, Every Summer After sticks out a little bit. This one is a little thinner this way, but thicker this way. So since it's up, Every Summer After, beautiful. Thank you, Carly Fortune. Amazing debut. I cannot wait to read your next book this summer. If you were a fan of The Summer I Turned Pretty, or even if you still are, this is an adult version of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I will never get enough of these. I will read these every single summer. Every Summer After, The Summer I Turned Pretty, quick, easy, fun reads. I love brother dramas and different things. Yeah, I love love triangles. I love those. I'll actually pull up an old favorite of mine. Here it is. I usually read this book every year because high school me was in love with 99 Days by Katugno. I love this book. I don't know what it is, but it's the brother aspect, fighting over brothers. Her mom's an author. Look at like the Polaroid version of this cover. I love 99 Days. It is not in the 2022 books because I did not read it this past year, but I will read it again this year. I used to read it again, like I said, every year, but I've been reading it every other year. Also a sequel book that's fun, and it takes place through traveling and in different countries that I like. But yeah, I like this book too. If you like Every Summer After and The Summer I Turned Pretty, I recommend 99 Days by Katugno. Back to the 22 books of 2022. 2022 was the year that I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. It was not the year that I finished the entire series though, because I only read A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it was phenomenal. The first time around was a little iffy on it. Took me a little while to get into it, but it's like that with every fantasy book. The second time around, I loved it even more. I cannot wait to pick up the sequel, but I should take that back because I am waiting to pick up the sequel because I have a lot of other books to read. I am currently in the middle of 3 400+ page books, so I am holding off on reading the sequel, but I do get married next month, so I'm hoping after the wedding I can dive into more books because I will not be spending so much time planning the wedding. Okay, Court of Thorns and Roses, highly recommend, even if you read it just to understand the references in pop culture and on Bookstagram, because a lot of people have read it. It is a good book. There are quite a few trigger warnings. This is not young adult. It is new adult. This is not young adult. If you know teenagers who are reading this or preteens who are reading this, make sure that parents are aware of what is being consumed. Now I have The Maid. Man, Book of the Month killed it the first few months this year. They started doing 5 to 7 main picks, and they started off with a great start, and it kind of dwindled down a little bit, but I enjoyed The Maid. Lots of different aspects: murder, mystery, hotel maid, comes across, I think it was a dead body. I will have to reread this. But she's the main suspect, but she's also trying to figure out who did it. And she kind of takes over the case and tries to find out on her own. She has her own disabilities. I think she's on the spectrum. I can't remember if they specifically say, but I loved having that aspect in a character and kind of normalizing that, especially now that more new adults or people who aren't children are starting to be diagnosed with mental illnesses such as autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, all of that. I like that it's being normalized more often. There's no normal way of being a human being. So I appreciate having different perspectives from different characters. The Maid, very good. I am realizing now that I'm talking about disability, I'm realizing now that I didn't pull out Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, or The Lessons in Chemistry. Those were two of my favorite books of this year. I didn't grab them because they're downstairs and I didn't see them. I'm downstairs right next to my TV because that's where I sit a lot and I want to see them all the time. I'm gonna go get them. I'm back. I think this is gonna end up being 24 books. I might pull out some Colleen Hoover books from this stack. But very typical book of the year. I loved Lessons in Chemistry, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And I loved them before the rest of the world loved them. So I know that I wasn't heavily influenced by the trend of loving them. You get worried though when I go to do things and I'm like, do I like this because it's trendy or do I actually like it? I mean, there's no way of really knowing, but I feel like I liked these before they were really popular. Ooh, I'm out of breath from walking downstairs and back upstairs with these books. Lessons in Chemistry, I ended up buying twice this past year. I bought the Book of the Month edition, fell in love. I called my partner while he was at work and he's in the medical field, so he really shouldn't be on the phone too much. But I just called him to rave about the book and it was so phenomenal. I know it's not for everyone, and it's gonna be like that with every book. So if you read it and you didn't love it, I'm sorry that you didn't vibe with it the same way I did, but that I don't have anything against you for not vibing with it. I mean, that it just is what it is. But I bought the Book of the Month edition, loved it. I'm probably gonna reread this every single year. I gave the Book of the Month edition to a friend because I wanted her to have it, but I also wanted to have a reason to buy the Barnes & Noble edition because of the table of elements and then the blue pages. I love it. Yeah, I keep this one downstairs next to my TV. There's a lot of trigger warnings, sexual assault, sexism. There's a lot of things. I'm gonna start linking below the trigger warning website I use to look up trigger warnings. That way you guys all have it. But I highly recommend this one. It's cute, quirky, it covers a lot of heavy topics, but it's also really just an important read. I really appreciated Lessons in Chemistry. Then I also read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and it just flowed so well. I mean, the reference to the title, the disability in the main character, the gaming aspect of it, the storyline between the friends, and I just really enjoyed it. There was a lot of different elements behind it. It was a heavy read, but also didn't feel that way. I felt like I was watching a show or movie, or like I was talking to a friend. So I highly recommend Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Surprise here, but I also loved the cartographers. Again, not for everyone, but this was for me. So good. Magical realism. She is a cartographer. She reads maps. She initially had a job working with her father, one of the most profound cartographers, at the New York Public Library. And then in the past, he gets her fired over something that she thought was silly. Now all of a sudden, he dies at his desk, and she finds out that in a hidden drawer was the thing that he fired her over. So she looks into the mystery of that, which was good. I enjoyed the cartographers. You might too. I Kissed Shara Wheeler. YA, LGBTQ, pride, mystery, funny. I mean, it's by Casey McQuiston. They cannot do anything wrong, in my opinion. I loved Shara Wheeler. Not necessarily Shara Wheeler, but the book about I Kissed Shara Wheeler. Very fun. It felt like two books in one, which I really appreciate. They could have ended the book halfway through, but they kept going, and I loved every second of it. We talked about this in my book club, the Bookish Book Club, and I think most of us enjoyed it. I have the purple cover. I love the floral spines. When I went to London last year, they did have the purple cover. I have the green cover. Oh geez, I might have had too much coffee today. I have the green cover. When I went to London this past year, they had the purple one, and I did consider buying it. I did not buy it, but I did consider it. Underrated book that I read in 2022 was Mary Jane. I don't know what it is. I felt like I was reading a friend's diary or watching a movie. It flowed very nicely. Mary Jane is a coming of age girl. She's 14 or 15, very religious, conservative family. That's how she's raised. but then she kind of falls into nannying for a family of hippies. She learns a lot about her life and how she wants to view life, and I just liked Mary Jane. I don't know what it was, it just stuck with me. Read it really quickly. I think I read it during one of the 24-hour readathons. Book that I read every year, or I listen to an audio every year, is Beach Read. Emily Henry did phenomenal with Beach Read. I highly recommend this one. These characters just stick with me. They're part of my heart and soul. I loved Beach Read. They're both authors. They go to a beach. They bump into each other. I think they did creative writing school together, and it's just a small town thing with two authors in it, both working through their own stuff, and it was really good. I highly recommend Beach Read. An underrated book is Anatomy, a Love Story. It's dark academia, not quite, but olden times. Female 13-year-old tries to become a doctor. Frowned upon, nobody believes she can do it, so she dresses up as a man, and she goes to school for it. While at the same time, people are randomly dying, and this guy is poor and he's being paid to dig up bodies for the doctors to practice on. And you kind of learn from there. Also, the heart on the cover has a female in it, and that's her dress. There is another book coming out called Immortality that I'm very excited to read. I did get it on audio, so thank you to the publisher Wednesday Books for the audio listen. I can't wait to listen to it and give you guys a review on it. I also already pre-ordered it because I liked this one so much. The back says, diabolically delightful, a love story, a murder mystery, and a horror novel bound up together in ghoulish stitches. Okay, yeah, that sums it up pretty well. This was a good book. I highly recommend. Here are a few more. One Italian Summer, Rebecca Serle, quick read. I love this book. It's not for everyone, just like none of these are for everyone. It's quick, very short. One Italian Summer, the main character is confused on her current relationship, and she decides to go to Italy, as her and her mom always said they would. Her mom passed away, and she knows that she needs to live out this Italian dream on her own. And a lot of things happen, and she learns a lot about herself, and I recently went to Italy and learned a lot about myself, and I don't know, this just was very fitting. I highly recommend One Italian Summer if you just need kind of that light-hearted, warm, feel-good, like regroup with who you are type of read. And short, it was sweet. The setting is beautiful as well. Ninth House. I talk about this book all the time. I have a recap of this book coming out soon before I read Hellbent, the sequel. I have read this book now 3 times, or listened to this book now 3 times. I recently listened to it again this past fall. Loved it. So much mystery, dark academia, magic, dark magic. It's good. It's good, in my opinion. It is thick, but you might like the audiobook more if you're into audiobooks. I liked it a lot. Okay, and I think this is technically 22 because I added lessons in chemistry, and then I also added Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. They have not written anything like this before, but they didn't do it wrong. This was very good. Adventurous, Grand Canyon, cowboy, horseback riding, treasure hunting, long lost lovers. It was fun. I felt like I was exploring national parks. I think it was the Grand Canyon, but it was very cool. Familial elements, scavenger hunts, treasure hunts. I highly recommend. This is not their normal reads. It's just not what they usually write, but it was good. It's about 350 pages. If you need something a little bit wilder, I recommend something wilder. See what I did there? The initial 2 that I had that I replaced with lessons in chemistry, and then tomorrow, so I guess it's 23 and 24, are my Colleen Hoover books of the year. I know Colleen Hoover is controversial, especially with the recent coloring book extravaganza. I did enjoy these reads. I understand both sides of people's views with Colleen Hoover. I completely understand. I respect both sides. I did appreciate It Ends With Us. I know it talks a lot about domestic violence and rape, and there's a lot of trigger warnings in it. I know a lot of people feel like she's making money off of that, and I mean, at the end of the day, she is. But she does say that she's writing based off of her own experiences, and I appreciate the way she writes these female characters as strong people who work their way through these toxic relationships. She writes characters that should be role models to readers. I do not agree with bookstores putting these books in YA areas, and I don't agree with preteens or even young teens reading these books, but I do appreciate these books. Yes, they can be cheesy. Like, yes, they're predictable, but sometimes that's what you need to read in life, and that's what these are. I did 2022 with Reminders of Him. I think I read this in January or February with my book club, the Bookish Book Club. This had me sobbing. I couldn't put it down. After serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna Rowan returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter. There's a mistake she ends up going to jail for, and while she's in jail, she gives birth to her daughter, who then gets taken away from her. Now she's out of jail, and she's trying to regroup that relationship and start anew. So I appreciated this. Like all of her books write about trauma, and keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of trigger warnings in these, but I do appreciate like the validation of seeing the characters work through their trauma and their mental illnesses and challenges in life, and kind of reminding us that not all love stories are like cheesy and not believable, but predictable. Like, life's not easy. Colleen Hoover writes honest, not easy line. And then lastly, I read It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us. I appreciated this book a lot. It was a sequel I didn't know I needed, but I got it, and I'm very thankful for that. This was a good read. You should read It Ends With Us first, or if you're weary of the trigger warnings, you could watch my recap video of It Ends With Us and then read audiobook It Starts With Us. This one still has quite a few trigger warnings, but it's a lot lighter of a read, less graphic. It's nice to see that even when people go through tough things, they come out on the other side. And that's what Colleen Hoover's books do. For a few of them, Verity, horror, psychological thriller, totally different. Same with Layla. But understand that Colleen Hoover might be overrated in your opinion, but I also think that people should read what they want to read, and this is what I wanted to read in 2022. And with that, the 2022 season comes to an end. I'm going to attempt to pick up all of these books. Let's see, I'm going to have to balance them on my legs. It's all 24 books. Yeah, I had a very good 2022 year of reading. I did start to utilize my library a lot more. I am trying to reduce how many books I purchase in 2023. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it until I put it in my head that buy less, read more. I'm using the library more. I'm going to try to buy less books, and I want to do audiobooks more, because at the end of the day, I just want to know the books. I will never have enough time to read everything I want to read. At the end of the day, I can get in a few more stories through audiobooks. I'm going to do it because I want to know what happens in the books. And I mean, it's not bad. It's not like making the most of my time, right? Or anything negative. I'm just listening to audiobooks. And I know people think that doesn't count as reading, but I mean, I know the story just as well as I would have if I read it. Okay, here we go. Oh boy. 24 books from 2022 because I added 2 more. But geez, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Can't wait to see what 2023 brings us.